What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
So in the opener there, you got a nice little reminder that we're governed by reptile carcass sock puppets, right? You got the CO cocaine glitch, freeze up again, this time in mid-sentence when asked about the prospects of him running for 2026 re-election, right? This guy fucking hopes to be alive by then. But if there was ever a display of the need of term limits and forced retirement, that was it for Soares, right? Moving on, Fulton County, right? The place is becoming famous as of late. They decided to show you that the justice system there is systemically racist when the 83% black workforce decided to deny bail to Harrison Floyd, the only black man involved in the Trump election interference scheme that's in full tilt down there. He's the head of Black Voices for Trump, labeling him a flight risk, right? So again, an 83% black workforce denied bail to the only black man involved in the situation, proving once again that the people that scream the loudest about racisms are usually the ones fucking committing the racist acts. Right? Moving on. CNN, they absolutely love to fearmonger. I mean, that's, pretty well known. And they love to push the old climate changes agenda, right? Not long ago, coming out and, debunking the theory or theories that wildfires are caused more by arson and incompetency, right? Pushing instead the climate changes agendas. Hilariously enough, recently being forced to cover the fact that dozens of people were arrested in connection with, arsonist acts in the EU as their largest wildfires in recorded history rages on, right? You love to see these Riris get smacked across the face with reality every once in a while. It just sucks that it takes, calamity for, it to happen. You know what I mean? Speaking of which, as the West and the Biden's regime in particular here, trying to escalate the Ukraine situation into World War III, all in the names of, defending democracy and beating the Hitler's peace Putins. It seems apparently to be backfiring with all, the sanctions and, the war raging on. It seems that Russia is absolutely being enriched. The EU alone, apparently now purchasing up their natural gas at a 40% uptick comparatively to pre-war numbers, right? So they're actually, purchasing more off them now than previous, before the sanctions. Russia has now added 56,000, you heard that number right, new millionaires, 22 new billionaires, and $600 billion combined wealth across that country there. As the West, plummets economically, the U.S. alone having spent or lost about $5.9 trillion over that time, right? Whether that's, for energy proceeds or what have you. And then, at that same token, you have NATO top officials realizing or admitting the truth that the Ukraine is going to have to cede land to stop, to put an end to the war or even be considered for, admittance into NATO. So they're telling them basically, everything's fucked, you're losing, right? And, but at the same time, with these, horrific fucking economic numbers coming out and the fact that you're just enriching, the quote unquote enemy, what does Biden's announce? Boom, another $250 million aid package to the Ukrainians as, Hawaii fucking, searches for deceased children and, tries to rebuild. And, Florida's being struck by a hurricane, so on and so forth, man. Food supplies being decimated. Oil producers, third largest oil producer in the United States, having just burned down recently. I mean, the list just keeps going. And this guy would rather break your grandchildren, trying to uphold democracy as, the dictator, the little cross-dressing dictator over there in the Ukraine has eliminated 11 opposing political parties and announces, bam, he'll only hold an election this next cycle if the U.S. and the UN agree to pick up the tab for it. Right? So I'm really glad that we're destroying the West's economy and protecting democracy. So apparently we have some New York CEOs taking it upon themselves to write a letter to the Biden regime demanding some of your tax dollars, right? Wanting you to pick up the tab for New York, State, and City, declaring themselves sanctuaries, demanding funds for education, housing, security, and healthcare, even though you can't afford your own, right? And this is, for people that have been lured there illegally at the behest of these CEOs for cheap labor and orchestrated by the leftist politicians that run the joint, right? And again, this comes after the aforementioned $5.6 trillion loss in revenue and, surpassing $32 trillion in debt, right? And you'd think that it would be easily fixable, but of course that's not, the current fucking plot. As Biden's DHS decides that they're going to go ahead and let over 100,000 people into the interior of the country per month. Right? Let this shit sink in. They're not replacing you, bigot, and it'd be great if they were, and you're damn sure going to pay for it, all right? At the meantime, you have the FBI conducting an investigation to over a dozen Uzbek nationals that were allowed to just stream through the border with smugglers connected directly to ISIS, right? And if you want to see, who's to blame, obviously look no further than here in Arizona, where the federal government has come down and literally welded the Ballard Wall gates open in the name of protecting wildlife. You know what I'm saying? These people are, absolute demons, dude. And leftism is a mental disorder that's completely decimating the West. Argue with me about it. Debate. Most importantly, like, share, subscribe. Truly appreciate that shit. Smell you later.
I was going to put him...
Idiots.